Jersey City Council voted down an ordinance regarding extending prohibited parking on designated residential areas. This comes with Jersey City residents speaking out, saying that this ordinance is a form of segregation and racism. According to the ordinance, from the hours of 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, no vehicle can park on zones 3, 4, 6, and 7 for more than 3 hours without a valid parking permit.
And the area that you have here borders around City Hall. And I know people who attend City Hall meetings will park in Paulus or the areas you have here because the city does not have parking available. And I think to adopt this, along with your adoption of the meters, which will be until 11 o'clock, and the selling of the parking lot across the street for development, you're telling the public they cannot come here and park. Only the people who live close by in Van Voss or in Paulus Hook can attend meetings. This ordinance is saying that in order to come here, and the people sitting in this ordinance, once this is passed, and once your meter ordinance is implemented in May, that we cannot park on these streets. So I'm asking you to say no to this. Voted no, or give us a parking spot for the public to come down here, and we should not pay for that. It's in my tax dollars anyway.
I had to switch my eye doctor from downtown because I didn't have a parking permit, which made my situation worse because my insurance only covers certain doctors. So this is, to me, is kind of a segregation. You're telling me that you don't want me coming downtown.
You're demanding that we not come. You're demanding that we not come. Where do we park? I agree totally with the prior speakers. This is just getting worse and worse. It's an act of, the way to put it, it's an act of overt racism.
And when it was time for deliberation, Ward E Councilwoman Candace Osborne was already in tears.
Councilperson Osborne.
Me. And I'm crying, and I'm going to cry in front of everyone here. Because I brought this up, and to accuse me of being overtly racist is the most hurtful thing that anyone has ever said to me. And I think that anybody knows me that knows that is not my heart. And so, I will speak to why I brought this up. First of all, we have a major problem in a few areas in downtown where people are supposed to park in buildings, and they don't. And the reason why they don't park in the buildings, even though their buildings have parking, is because enforcement stops at 5 p.m. So you have people who live in big high-rises, but they work in the middle of New Jersey, and they don't use that parking. So this is meant to remedy that problem, number one. And number two, many people in Paulus Hook and Padna park their car, and then they get on the subway in Jersey City in the evening. They park their car in these neighborhoods, and they go over to Manhattan and they leave their cars. The reason why we changed the number of hours from 2 hours to 3 hours is to be very, very careful that we didn't discourage anyone, because right now it's a 2-hour window, and I knew that I wouldn't feel comfortable with keeping a 2-hour window, because I want people to come downtown and go to the restaurants downtown and go to the places downtown, and that's exactly why we changed it from 2 hours to 3 hours. So, with all due respect, to say that I'm being overtly racist is offensive, and it's not right, and I vote aye.
I mean, people are allowed to come here. We live across the river in one of the greatest cities in the world. That's number one. Secondly, we've been asking that this city, this administration does something about parking. We need parking lots here. We need them in the Heights, we need them downtown, we need them in Ward F, we need them in Greenville. It's time to stop this BS. And Yvonne, you're 100% right, and I'll tell you something else. I hope the people riot if they ever try to sell that lot across the street, because there's no place to park here, and where will all the people that work in this building park if they ever sell that lot? I vote no.
As Councilperson Coleman said, Councilperson Osborne has worked hard, really, really hard to try to address a matter. And you're right. You're right. She's responsible to the constituents of Ward E, downtown. And so she looks for their input constantly to get their input on that. And to be frank with you, up until this very moment, And so I say to all of you who spoke out in opposition to it, in that regard, that up until this very moment, it hadn't really come up as a conversation as to what the impact is. Your voices are heard, but I would also just add and just ask respectfully that we can come to a meeting and disagree without hurling accusations of racism, because that's just not the case with this council, and particularly not for the sponsor of this legislation, Councilperson Osborne. And so I'll vote no as well, and I'll get back to the drawing board and figure out, and I'll work with Councilperson Osborne.
The ordinance was defeated 2-6 with Ward B Councilman Ramchal abstaining. I'm Jeanette Josu, Hudson County View, the eye of the community.